when you've got an incredible idea, sometimes there are just these wonderful lessons that God gives us along the path. I'm excited to again be joined by a wonderful brother, leader, business leader, Christian pastor, Randy here, looking at what God is doing in the midst of this End the Wait movie. God gave him a vision to start a movie, and we want to look at some of the lessons that we've learned along that path, overcoming obstacles, abiding in him, understanding God's role versus our role. Listen, Christian leader, this is an episode you're not going to want to miss on today's History Makers Leadership Podcast. Man, you've got just an incredible model that you're looking at here for doing something pretty revolutionary. Just from like that 30,000 foot view, explain for a second here, what is this model you're looking at, and how are you kind of seeing the various elements come together right now?
So it has expanded.
Okay.
To start with, it was an awareness campaign through making the movie to get the message out there. But now it's sort of morphed into the movie is sort of the pilot light for the awareness campaign, but we've recognized that it's likely going to drive tens of thousands, if not more, donors. So we wanted to have what is the right landing place for these people. As we've learned more about the issues that exist in the medical community, which transplant centers should be connected with this. And so as we've learned that, we've partnered with organizations like the Alliance for Paired Kidney Donation. That's going to help the process. So that's a whole nother element. We also wanted to see Lucretia, the wife.
Yeah.
All right. So Lucretia said one of the things that we want to make sure is accomplished is that those that are in need, that are in dialysis, are having to live with this right now, we want them to feel hope and know that they're not alone in this process. So we thought, how do we best accomplish that? And a friend of mine named Troy, another pastor, he's told me the whole time, I've just got this discernment that there's a strong spiritual element to this. And it's not just, which I knew that. I felt the spiritual transformation when I donated the kidney. But he said, where does this fit best within the faith community? And then that morphed into us understanding that we need to have support groups set up all over the country to help those that are going through dialysis or renal failure right now. And so that's now turned into an opportunity through the website to engage faith communities, the medical community, and the people that are going through this process right now. We also have on our website on the dashboard, if somebody we have a question on the questionnaire that says, would you like a daily devotional? And so we've partnered with a national faith organization that just answering that simple question, yes, will link them into their community. So it gives them opportunity to receive daily devotionals. And so it's just a win-win in so many different ways. Right. So, but all that takes a lot of work. Those partnerships coming together, which has been a little bit of the frustration of who are those partners supposed to be. And as we reveal more and more about what we're doing, we're starting to see that really come about in a big way.
Man, I love that. And when at the International Leadership Institute, we talk about visionary leadership. And when we talk about the power of vision, we talk about seeing a need. And you saw a need for kidney transplants across this nation and really across the world. You saw a need for the faith community to really be engaged with that. You were burdened for that and connected into that. This is an audience of men and women who are Christian leaders that God is burdening their heart right now. There are people right now that God has given them a vision for a need, right? Whether it be a new church plant in a place or maybe it's to start a business that causes just a redemptive change for employees or for a particular market segment. Man, as a visionary leader, we can sometimes see these things, but there are hurdles along the way. There are obstacles that we face.
Absolutely.
Sometimes there's wounds from our past. You're rounding third right now in the midst of this End the Wait process. And if, hey, listen, leader, if you're listening to this and you haven't listened to the first recording, I want to encourage you, take a listen to the first recording, hear a little bit more about End the Wait, an incredible movie and movement that Randy and his team have started to see 100,000 kidneys donated to change lives and to impact eternity for men and women as they encounter that kind of self-sacrifice that Christ exemplifies for us. And so, Randy, the leaders that are listening, they've got a bold vision. Their hearts are excited around it, but sometimes the enemy's speaking lies to them. Sometimes
Yep.
they're encountering obstacles. Can you share a little bit from your story? Like where
Yeah.
have you seen some of these things? How have you overcome some of those? What are some of the pieces there that you might offer to them, just as a brother that's again a little further along that journey?
Well, Daniel, I'm no different than everyone else. I had those same thoughts. That when the vision first sort of popped in my head of doing this, the enemy immediately planted the seed of, this is too much for you. You're a local pastor. You've only been a pastor 10 years, and you're a ditch digger. So you're nothing special.
Yeah.
How can you do something of this magnitude? And so I battled with that a little bit, and I think I was able to sort of take a step back and reflect and pray about that, and realize that God is going to open those doors. There was a day, it was actually Ash Wednesday of this past year. I remember it was that morning. I was sitting on my couch. It was 5 o'clock in the morning or so, and I started getting that overwhelming, even though we've already started this process. We were around second base, heading towards third, and I've had this feeling of, this is too big.
Yeah.
This is too much. How can I manage a nonprofit and impacting these lives and moving forward with the momentum of everything related to In the Wait and the chapters and the partnerships, and be a good shepherd at our church, and run a family business. And I started getting overwhelmed. I could feel the anxiety building up, and I started praying about it, and immediately God just laid on my heart, I just need you to be obedient today, and let me worry about the big picture. And then I realized, you and I actually were talking about this a little while ago, I realized the reality of this situation. The foundation for this movement has come from two really dark valleys. For me, when my son disappeared, the focal point of the first movie, The Way Home, and realizing how broken of a father, of a leader in my church. I was the minister of music at my church then. I was chairman of the board of deacons, and yet I was so superficial. So being in that valley of realizing how insignificant I was in the kingdom at that time, and then the valley that Russell and Lucretia and so many like them were in, those points in the valley were the foundation for all this happening. So even though we're in low points, perhaps in our ministry, in our lives, in our walks, there's still learning that's going on, and there's still opportunity to learn in the middle of that valley. Count it all joy when you're going through trials and temptations. James chapter chapter 1 verse 2 and 4.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So those things built things within me that helped grow me as a leader, to be able to handle the obstacles that we face. But yeah,
Would you say that you've seen God redeem those sufferings?
oh no doubt.
Yeah.
Because you get to the point that when you start seeing the other side, and it's like when I was hiking on the trail.
Yeah.
It's a struggle going up that mountain, and then when you get up there to that summit, all that hard work was worth it. And there's a redemptive nature to seeing the look on someone's face when they realize they're going to get a kidney. Or even better is seeing the look on the face of someone who just found out they can donate, and the joy. That's the thing that was sort of surprising to me. One of my church members is donating a kidney to a high school classmate that had a heart transplant when he was 14, and he just found out that he needed a kidney like 2 months ago. And their transplant is miracle number 15 that's scheduled for May 25th. And at church Sunday, he was just like, I can't wait. I'm so excited. He had so much joy. That's a gift from the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Is to fill you with that joy. That's that fruit of the Spirit joy.
Right.
That Galatians 5:22
right.
joy.
That's right.
And it's so beautiful to see that.
Man, I know that a lot of leaders, they look for that moment, right? Where they've hit the peak, they're looking out and they're seeing it. And yet, I know we've both been leaders in a context where we're not there yet.
Yeah.
We're feeling that pressure. We're seeing some of the obstacles. Maybe what we thought was a peak is a false peak, right? You get there and you realize, oh no, I still can't quite see it. Like there's another one right over there. I gotta get over that hump. As you've been going through this In the Wait creation process, as you've kind of been confronted with things along the way. Can you tell us just, I mean, what's one of those obstacles that maybe you encountered along the way, and how has God met you in the midst of that? How do you see yourself really practically practicing that? Hey, just be obedient today, Randy. Just be obedient today. How are you doing that, man?
Well, to say it metaphorically, to use your metaphor, while you're hiking up, seeing that summit up ahead, you look around and realize that the journey itself is beautiful. That you're walking, even though it's a struggle, the beauty's already all the way around you. And so I think, there were a lot of times when I'm given a message, and I've just felt all week long that Lord is really inspiring this message, this sermon, and then you give it and there's no response. And you're like, wait, well, did I miss the boat? Or there's a frustration where other people don't see what God's laid on your heart. I've definitely experienced that. And that's something I think in ministry that a lot of people experience, that other people aren't seeing what I'm seeing. Why not, God? Yeah. And we have to realize, no, this is something God's working on in me. All I can do is what I'm supposed to do and be obedient, and then let Him handle the rest. Mm-hmm. He's going to convict, or maybe it's just seeds are planted right now, and then it's not up to us. It's up to God and others that He calls to inspire and grow those seeds along the way. So you just have to, I think that just comes with spiritual discipline and going through those valleys a period of time, and being in prayer, being constantly in the Word. All of those spiritual disciplines that we talk about and we hear about at church, those are the things that give us the foundation to know, you know what, this isn't my movement. This is God's movement. So I'll just be blessed by going through this journey. That's it.
Man, it's incredible that faithful practice of intimacy with God, forming the foundation on which we can overcome those obstacles and see the beauty of what He's working out in the midst of those things along the journey. So in the process of really developing a different formula for solving a problem, right? Mm-hmm. You're looking at making this movie in order to solve this underlying issue and to mobilize. I love how you keep saying this word, pilot light. Like the movie is just a pilot light. It looked like first like it was the end destination, but it's actually just something that ignites, right, this movement. You've talked a lot about a number of partnerships that have come to be because of this, right?
Yes.
You mentioned the American
Paired Kidney, or the Alliance for Paired Kidney Donation, APKD.
APKD.
Yes.
Okay. So groups like that you've been connected to, and that you're kind of seeing some of these partnerships come together. I think effective Christian leadership looks like mobilization, right? There's some mobilization that has to take place here. How did you get some of these relationships, connections? I mean, is this something that happened like all at once, or is this the fruit of something over a longer period?
Yeah, this has been a almost 4-year journey, three and a half year journey, which is actually very quick.
Yeah,
when you take a step back for the movie, the nonprofit, and the whole visions. And frankly, I think we're still. You said we're rounding third. We really don't know. We really don't. We may be rounding first. We don't know where all this is going to ultimately lead.
Where's God's plan here?
Yeah, and so no, it's been a long process, and so there's been obstacles where there have been some that said no, or you don't get a response and you assume there's a no, and then all of a sudden you get an email like, yes, I'm interested in this. I've had COVID for the last 2 weeks.
Oh,
so,
wow.
A lot of these fears and trepidations we bring on ourselves. It's just understanding that it is a process. And so it's about just being obedient right now and allowing God to open the doors. And so I had to learn to accept the no's and realize that that might not be the right fit. Like as we're working towards what's the right partnership for a distributor.
Yeah.
And we're having those conversations now, but and I won't be specific for obvious reasons.
Yeah, sure.
But there was one particular distributor that offered us some significant marketing dollars with certain promises behind it, and I did not have a good discernment about that. And there were also strings attached that were not strings that I was willing to do, because in this whole process we have to keep the main thing. Keep this focused on it's a God-centered thing. It's a medical thing. It's about kidney transplants, but ultimately this is a spiritual thing.
Yeah.
You know, and so that has to be our main focus. So it was hard to say no to something that looked like, from a secular standpoint, such a great deal.
Yeah.
But it has led to a better partnership on down the road that is God led. And when you come across the partners that have the same, that they get the vision,
Yeah.
then you realize, okay, that God's had this whole plan from the beginning, and I'm just working through the process, growing through this process of defeats and obstacles along the way for the plan that He has in mind. Yeah.
So I love that. Like this is what I'm hearing here. I'm hearing it as I look for effective partnership, as I look for effective people, not only for mobilization but to join in the effort. It really does begin with vision. Right. It begins with sharing that vision, being aligned around that vision. Obviously, a faithful practice of discernment around that.
Yes.
But Randy, I think that also carries an impact in our own souls. Right. When we encounter those obstacles and we're surrounded by people that are aligned, they're gonna. If our faith is lacking, maybe theirs is strong.
Absolutely.
Or vice versa, where we get to. But if we've got partially aligned or maybe even misaligned relationships in the midst of some of that, that's when we start to feel the pressures, some of those questions that begin to kind of break down some of those relationships. I know you've spent time in the in business and in the market and trying to navigate faithful Christian leadership in the marketplace as well. How have you seen either in that context or even in the first movie? Because this is, I can't believe I'm saying this. It's not your first movie, Randy. How have you seen that kind of leadership where being in alignment has created health in the midst of obstacles or protection in the midst of obstacles? And how have you seen maybe the opposite if you've experienced the opposite of that?
I think you can apply that to any relationship, any scenario. My wife and I have been married for June will be 35 years. And there are times when I'm in a weaker place spiritually and she's in a stronger place. And so we feed off of each other and there's accountability. So whether it's a work relationship, church relationship, you seek people that, or you seek opportunities in that relationship to hold each other accountable, to lift each other up. And that absolutely applies in what we're doing in our ministry and in the weight and all of it, that we have to try to make sure that the people that we're working with have the same vision and are using the same source of strength in that vision. And so that's important to know and get to know those people to make sure that we're aligned. And so I hope that answers your question a little bit.
Yeah, it's just again, I'm listening and I'm looking at a leader that it seems like man, all these pieces just seem to be falling together. Right. And I know like there's a degree of truth behind that is, wow, praise the Lord. Like, God, you just keep bringing the pieces together. But I also want to, in some senses, demystify that for others. Right. Like, hey, I think based on just the conversations we've been having, you'd say that, hey, this is one step of obedience after another. Like that seems to be the message that I would think you'd offer to the Christian leader today is it's one step of obedience in the direction that God is putting on your heart. I mean, is that right?
It is. And the example, when I was hiking the Appalachian Trail, I thought that was the plan. You know, that was me being obedient, was hiking for 6 months. So I had to question, did I misunderstand the vision of being on this trail that God had planned for me? And did I do something wrong? Why is this not working out? Why is there a blizzard? Why are things going wrong at church or work? Not that things were going wrong, but there was, I had to go back and shepherd and lead the circumstance. But so you start questioning those things, and then you have to take a step back and realize that even that process, you have to. And I said this in the other video that we did earlier, is I had to realize that I just had to step through this one door today, and not try to plan out what that path after I step through the door looks like from now on. Step through that door and then look both left and right and say, God, lead me. I just want to minister wherever my feet are right now. And if this vision is your plan, then I'll wait on your timing. You show me the next steps. You show me those opportunities. You close those doors that need to be closed. And so that really takes you to a place of great humility when you realize that you're, as a leader of this, you're not in charge of it. You're a participant. And that's why I try to be as prepared as I can to listen, to see where he leads it. And it puts you in a great place. It's very liberating to know that I'm not in charge of this. So I don't have to worry when I hear a no.
Yeah.
But it is frustrating. I mean, there's a human element to it, and there's been opportunities. We've reached out to friends and family. Hey, we're doing this as a fundraiser. We have this app called Your Change that people can round up their bank card to the nearest dollar. And then when you have people that are really close to you and they're like, yeah, I'll do it, and then you look at the list of names and like,
they didn't do it.
They hadn't done it. It's like, come on, don't you see what I see?
Yeah,
and so there's an element of frustration, but you don't know everything that's going on in their life. And, and it's not a place of judgment, but we just don't know. We cannot see everything that God sees. Our thoughts are not his thoughts. Our ways are not his ways. And so we just have to be content with that. And one thing that I would say is I really get a strong, the way the Holy Spirit speaks to me that I interpret it is if I make a decision and it's of him, I have such a peace about it. And if it's not of him, I have an unsettled spirit. Something seems off. And to me, that's a nudge of, okay, take a step back. This direction's not where I want you to go. Yeah. But it also takes me being grounded in what is right, which we learn righteousness by reading the Scripture. That's right. And by prayer and discernment.
That's right. Well, it reminds me, I had a conversation with a buddy of mine in Atlanta. He owns a company. I think at its peak, he probably had 250 employees, give or take. And really starting around COVID, man, his company's just been hammered. And I think he's down probably around 80 now, right? So just to give you an idea of the trajectory. I mean, it's been hard. It's been really hard seasons. And as we were sitting and talking and just kind of working through some things, he said, Daniel, I've got to constantly remind myself, God is the owner and I'm a steward of what he's entrusted. And because he's the owner, he's the one that has to carry a different burden, right? Yeah. He's the one that carries that. And he said, and one of the most helpful things that he has worked on is to sit down and write out God's job description for the business. Because he said, every time I feel stress, frustration, anxiety, I look and I realize I'm taking hold of his job, not mine. And I'm taking those things on as if there's something I'm to carry. Exactly. But they're his to carry.
That's right.
And as I think about look, releasing a movie in the United States is no small thing. I mean, the money necessary for advertisement alone, we are in a unbelievably media saturated culture and context. And just to break through that noise with this life transforming, kingdom advancing, and the weight, pilot light of a movie, man, that's no small feat. And yet, the sense of peace and confidence and joy that's in your presence. I'm pointing out you, but only because you're the vessel by which God has made all of this happen. But I'm watching that in your life and I'm going, man, that's a transformational experience. And I think Christian leaders today, no matter where we are in the world, if we recognize the call is to daily obedience and daily faithfulness, and let tomorrow worry about itself.
That's right.
Man, there's so much freedom in that.
That's right.
And I think also a freedom to know, I don't know how to say this, Randy, but I know that frustration to go, man, this is great. How do you not see this? Yeah. I think every leader with a vision has had that moment where you go, man, how can this person not see it? And the remembrance or the recognition, man, there's a degree to which that it is God to work on the heart of a person to bring them either in to what you got going, or he's got something else for him. Yeah. And that's okay too. In fact, that's probably the better thing, because God's plan is the better plan.
That's right.
How do you balance some of those things in your own mind, man? I mean, do you think I'm off base here? I mean,
No,
brother. I mean,
no.
give me some thoughts here if you think I'm missing something.
No, I think you're 100% right, and it's for me, it's remembering that it would be real easy for me to focus on success as being how many transplants we have. Where can this ultimately lead to? And frankly, we don't know the answer to that. But the liberating part is knowing that the spiritual awareness that people have when they go through this, when they're impacted by this, that has so much more value than the medical. I've made the statement before: 100,000 kidneys doesn't equal one soul.
That's right.
And so realizing that, and that's sort of why I said what I did about could be just rounding first base, because I believe that the ultimate wonderful thing about this is that it's going to present one opportunity for people to break through the bubble of what they see into a whole nother world of servant leadership. I love what John did in the gospel about that night in the upper room. All the other gospels had talked about the Last Supper. John went a different route, and he shared that story of Jesus washing their feet. And so when we engage in that part of it, we did that at our church on Maundy Thursday.
Yeah.
And where our staff, the four of us, got down and washed and dried the feet of all of the church members that were there that night. And it's the most humbling experience to be a servant, and it's humbling to be served.
Yeah.
And so that's what we see here when you're pairing donor and recipient together. Both are receiving such a deep spiritual experience, and then that's just an opportunity for that light to shine brightly in each one of their communities.
And the theological part of my head goes, man, original sin of pride.
Yeah.
And the gift of God, that humility can help to break through that and to reveal Christ as glorious and magnificent, and to help soften someone to hear that gospel message for the first time, or maybe just to receive it at all. Man, I love.
Wouldn't that be worth it all?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
right?
just one.
Man,
just one would be worth it all.
Randy, I love what you got going. If somebody wanted to know more about the movie, what's the website? Can you tell them where to go, and maybe follow up with you guys, or maybe get connected in some way?
Yeah.
What's the best place?
We're at EndTheWait, EndThewait.net. And so we welcome people to email us, Randy at EndTheWait.net, and reach out to us. We're actively recruiting people to lead these chapters all over the country that are interested in knowing more about what we're doing. If you feel that you're being convicted, I want to help too. I want to save a life. A lot of people struggle. What's my purpose? Maybe this is it. Maybe this is what God's leading you to by listening to this podcast. So go to EndTheWait.net, reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to touch base with you and see where God's leading you.
Amen. Randy, I love your heart and your vision, man. It's so exciting and wonderful to see. Hey, Christian leader, I just want to remind you in this moment, intimacy with God is going to be the foundation that allows you to overcome those obstacles, to identify with discernment those partnerships that are lying around the vision that God's placed in your heart. And along that path, you're going to discover that God meets you there, and as Randy said, sometimes even has a vision bigger than what you initially thought. We love Christian leaders here at the International Leadership Institute, and we're so thankful for you. If you want to find other resources to help you grow in your life and leadership, you can check us out at iliteam.org. Or if you haven't, go take a listen to that first podcast. Listen to how God transformed Randy's life, did something incredible as he was on one trail and path, and God brought him into a cup of coffee and a life-transforming conversation. Thanks for joining us today on the History Makers podcast.